Hey, Vincent here, and what I wanted to talk about was nobody really tells you what being a teenager actually feels like. Like everyone just expects you to figure it out. So that's what I'm going to talk about, like my my teen years and the stuff that nobody told me and nobody you know nobody like it's so hard to give advice for someone that's barely turning 14 or 13, like what to expect when you go through, puberty and stuff like that. But, that's what I'm going to talk about. And the first thing I want to talk about was like, honestly, when I was, even though I'm barely 18, like going through those awkward years of like early 17, mid 17 from like all the way to 13 to 14, like those are the probably the most awkward years of your life. And for me, honestly, I did feel really lost. Like nobody, I just felt lost because I felt like everybody knew what they were doing, like, and I just didn't know. Like I didn't know what I was gonna do, and I kind of like coped really hard and kind of forced myself to like just force game design upon me because I somewhat liked it, but it's not the career job for me. And so yeah, like that was just not that's what like I was really scared of, like growing up, was just feeling lost because I just didn't know what I was gonna do. Like I didn't know what I was even doing. Like, like I thinking about it, like some of my days were low key just ball hours, like just doing nothing. Like for example, like 15 and 16, like I was very serious about like the gym and lifting. So I was going to the gym um like 4 times a week, 5 times a week, and literally I would just go to the gym right after school and lift for like 2 hours and then go home and do like homework and play video games. And I just feel like I don't know, I just feel like I don't even know what I was doing. Like, I just feel like there's big chunks of my life where they're on autopilot, and you're just kind of doing the same exact things. And I feel that sometimes, like there'll be like 2 days where I'm just like on autopilot, and I feel like I just lost so much time. But yeah, like, but in reality, guys, like nobody knows what they're doing through those years. Like, you'll hear people say they want to do this and that, or they're gonna do this and that. In reality, like they just don't know. Like nobody really, like, nobody knows what they want to do like that young. There's not a big majority of people that know what they want to do when they're young. So don't like don't freak out about not knowing what to do, because in reality, like that's where I'm at. Like I don't even know what I want to do, but I'm still young. Like I'm not thinking like this in my mid 20s. Even that's young. But there's a point, like if you're like 48 and you're thinking like I don't know what to do, like you're kind of like too old to think like that. You should have had it not like thought out sooner. But um so don't stress about not knowing what to do. Like things will always change, and you know there's some things that you're destined for and there's some things that you're not. And so you know don't feel like stressed because there's people that they say they have a plan and they're going to stick to it. But sometimes um the planning stuff is hard. And another thing I felt lost about was you know I felt expected to figure out life like really early, like, and that's the thing, like I felt like I was really unprepared for like adulthood. Like yeah, I know, I understand that I'm still 18, but I feel like if I was a little bit, matured or prepared, I would have like I feel like I would be doing a little bit more in my life than right now. And it's so hard to figure out like what you really want to do, and I feel like it's very like pressured, like you're like really pressured into finding something real quick because people are so quick to judge, and you just don't want to get judged. Like, like I'm at the time, I'm stuck right now in life, like, and no one really prepared me for this moment. Like, no one prepared me for feeling burnt out from school and deciding to like I just want to drop out and I would rather work. But in reality, like I feel like if I drop out, like I don't know, like it's too it's too much to do. Like I don't know, I just feel like I can't drop out and I need to get a full-time job, and I just feel like full-time is like maybe I just sound spoiled or something, but full-time does sound so like stressful or just feels like honestly full-time job right now sounds so adulty, like, it sounds so adult-like, and maybe it's me, like, coping, like, just not accepting, like, I wanna grow up, or, like, maybe I feel like I'm growing up too fast, but, like, I just feel like if I get that full-time job, like, I just feel like I'm not gonna be able to do what I wanna do, like, I feel like work is just gonna consume my life, and I'm really scared of that, and, I'm just, like, really nervous about those type of things. And that's what I'm saying, like, nobody in my teen years, like, in my young teen years prepared me for this. No one nobody told me that it was gonna life could end up like this, feeling lost. And another thing is, like, feeling the pressure about the future, like, high school is such a scary time because you realize in 4 years, like, those 4 years, they sound so long, but you'll lose those 4 years in an instant, like, and I feel that, like, now, like, thinking about high school, like, those 4 years are gone, and they went fast for me, like, high school felt like a blink of an eye, like, I don't know, but, yeah, that's, like, one thing that, like, you'll feel pressured about the future, and just don't worry about it, like, I know it sounds easy, but you're not gonna be the only I feel like I'm peeking out this mic a lot. You're not gonna be the only one you're not gonna be the only one who, is gonna think like that. There's gonna be a lot of people in your age group around the world are thinking the exact same way as you because nobody prepared them. Like, nobody teaches you this during, like early teenager years or, early teens. And it's like really difficult to get through, like, trying to figure out what you really want to do. Like, are you working yourself? Like, stuff like that. And it's just difficult. And another thing is that when I was like going, like I said, going through those awkward years of my life, like I felt like I just couldn't talk to everyone about everything. Like I felt like if I tried to explain something to my dad or to my mom, I feel like they would never understand it, even if I spent like 1,000 hours explaining it. And it's not like, oh, it's because they're dumb or something. It's just because they grow up in a different way. Like I feel like even if I have a kid, and he goes through his awkward years of life, there's stuff that he'll never tell me because I will never understand just because, I grew up in a different generation. My parents grew up in a different generation. And it's just like a generational thing. Like you have to be, in their age group to understand that problem. And that's where I felt like I was kind of going to. Like I felt like I was always going to like a friend to explain my problems because I felt like they would understand more and they would give me a better answer than my parents, even though my parents are like, like 3 times my age. And they lived, on this earth for, almost like almost for 50 years, and it's one of those things where, um, it's just like really, bizarre. Like I trust telling my friend about this more than my parents. But also it's because you feel like if you tell your parents like how you think about certain things, like they're so quick to become offended or something. Like I remember when I was younger, like I I didn't mean it, but I didn't I didn't mean it, but I don't know how to really explain it. I just didn't mean it when I said it to my parents. Like me and my brother got into a huge argument, and this is when I truly had like hatred to him. Like I just like hated his guts and all that. And I was just like I can't stand him. Like he's always doing something, like always doing the most. And he's always trying to fight me and like this and that. Like I was I was very stressed about school and my brother back then like just wasn't the best guy. And just dealing with him would get me stressed out. And now it's just like I was like I hate him and I don't know why I just said it. Like I was like I hate my life. And I didn't mean it, but I just I meant like I just hate where this situation and how it's I'm living through this or it's part of my life. And my parents they got offended because they done so much. They had every right to get offended, by the way. It's because they do so much and they sacrifice so much. So I should be grateful for everything. And me saying that I hate my life is like me saying like I'm ungrateful for everything. And yeah, they had every right to get offended and be on the like being getting mad at me. But if I felt like if I told that to my friend, he would take it a different way. Like not as I feel like he would understand. Like no, you don't hate your life, you just hate what's going on in your life. And I don't know. And no, no shame to my parents. Like it's just I think it's just an age gap thing. Like we think different. But and another thing, it feels really hard to open up to people. Like maybe it's a guy thing, but it's really hard for like me to open up to people in my life. And I don't know, like I just feel like you know, like I remember the first time I truly opened up to this person, and then we just didn't talk anymore. And I took it the wrong way. Like I took it as like I was offended because it's like we were so deep on this level, and for you to just kind of like forget about the friendship and stuff like that. Like you know I just took it the wrong way. And I was like I always thought like what's the point of opening up to people when um they're just gonna leave your life, like you know and I think that's another thing I struggled in through high school was always like I would have problems and I would only like to tell like one person, and that person I just wasn't really able to talk to that much. And I would just hold all my emotions in, like bottle up everything, and then like I would just kind of have these like outbursts or like breakdowns, and like or like something like major would happen during those times, and I would like freak out and stuff like that just because I was always bottling everything up. Like I was always putting myself aside. I was like, no, nobody wants to deal with this. Like, nobody wants to. I felt like I didn't matter. Like, I felt like nobody wants to deal with my emotions. So why not just like, bottle them up? Like, just sweep it under the rug. No one cares. Like, I just always thought like I didn't matter, and nobody would truly care about how I felt. And so I just felt like I couldn't talk to anybody about how I truly felt. And I feel like that's what happens in your teen years is that you keep so much to yourself and you don't open up. And trust me, like if you if you feel like you don't matter, it's not true. Like you do matter. You'll always matter. And you know, try to open up more in life. Like try to start opening up, the sooner the better, I say, because like if you don't open up, you're you're naturally building a barrier. And it's okay to not always open up, but when you feel like there's such a huge barrier between you and your friend, it's because you don't open up. You don't truly talk about how you feel. And it's just with one person. One person has to start. If my friend truly opened up to me, then I would truly open up to him. And it goes the same way for every way. Like it goes for the same way for everything. Like if you truly opened up to your parents, I feel like they would, you know, love you more or truly understand you more. Something like, you're building this barrier with people because you don't want to open up. And it's okay to not always open up, but there's a certain point where you're just holding everything in, and that's just like completely unhealthy. And um even though how cliche this sounds, but another thing was like kind of in my head was social media. I think like social media was it's one of those things that everybody's gonna grow up with. Like like how from the people from like from the 70s say that everybody's gonna grow up with the news like as in newspapers. And now now who fucking reads the newspapers now? Like I feel like that's only like a New York thing or something. And um so yeah, like I feel like now new generations are gonna grow up with social medias. Like they're you know TikTok is a social media, but there's like like little like literally like babies that have like TikTok accounts or go on TikTok and scroll, or like YouTube Shorts. And social media does like mess with you. Like if you're on it a lot too, and that's so normal for average teenager, like to be on Instagram, TikTok, like on all the time. Like even I'm on TikTok a lot or Instagram. I'm freaking sweating so bad. It's so hot in my car. But um yeah, like my bad. But yeah, like everybody's gonna be more chronically online when you're a teenager because it's Instagram. That's where people use Instagram to slide into DMs, or it's Instagram to show off your life, it's Instagram to communicate with people. Instagram is a lot of things. And I felt like Instagram was like the only one I truly cared about. I didn't give a fuck about TikTok, TBH. And I wasn't a Snapchat guy. So I was like, I'm trying to think. I was like, I was obsessed with Instagram, like low key, like, um, I was obsessed. Like, I don't know. I just felt like Instagram gave me like a stalker vibe. Like, I feel like I felt like I was always kind of worried about people looking at like my highlights, and it's like it's such a weird thing to care about. Is like people what they think about my highlights and my like, is this picture good? And I feel like you'll slowly get like self-conscious of yourself when you get posted on Instagram and your friend takes a picture of you and you're not you're not in the best angle and you're like, is that how I always look? And stuff like that. That's how I felt. I was very self-conscious of myself. Like I just, I felt like I hated how I looked because I wasn't looking at the camera, so I was looking all chopped and shit. And I just hated how I look, and I just like, I hardly post myself on Instagram because I feel like I gave myself like a body dysmorphia. Like I feel like I hate my body more than I should, and stuff like that. And you know, I feel like with Instagram, um you would compare. I feel like a lot of people would compare themselves to other people on Instagram, like, and I feel like um Instagram was more of a showboat, like the stories. I feel like it was just showboating, like showing like whose life is living better, like who, who like stuff like that. And um, you know, I just feel like Instagram was I was obsessed with it, but now I really don't care. Like I don't really care as much. But I feel like TikTok and Instagram, you also feel like you're falling behind because like you just see people doing stuff like like there's people in my school like from my school that went to like the best university and I'm here like at fucking community college and I low-key do like feel embarrassed but that's only I only feel like that because I'm comparing myself to somebody else so that's just not the right thing to do. But um I feel like another thing is that like motivation comes and goes. Like some days, some days you feel like you're locked in. Some other days you just like feeling lazy for no reason, and like nobody tells you discipline matters more. Like it's one of those things in life where like nobody. I feel like teachers showing more motivation videos than discipline videos. And it's good to be motivated, but you also have to be disciplined. And here's the thing in life, like if there's two people trying to reach something, one's motivated and one's disciplined, the disciplined guy is always gonna win because you can't be motivated forever. Like it's impossible. Like there'll be days you'll have doubt. Like even me, like I had doubt with this YouTube channel. Literally, like yesterday, I was thinking in my mind, like, dude, what happen if this doesn't work out? Like, what happen if this doesn't like this flops? And if I was only going off of motivation, then I would have literally just stopped there. But I'm disciplined. Like I'm trying to upload every day. I'm recording this fucking hot ass car and talking and not I'm not seeing any growth, but I'm still doing it. Like eventually something will happen. But you know, and I do feel that through high school. Like there would be days where I would feel locked in. Like I'm like grinding out homework and doing this. I'm trying to like I felt like I was only motivated to get an A and then, you know, reality hits like I'm like, dude, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I would lose the motivation and then, I would lose the desire to do the work. So like my grade would just go like from a high B to like mid C and stuff like that. And I feel like the, the life is like, it depends where you live, but it's fucking expensive, and there's as a teen, you'll see you're online a lot. So you'll see people have this and that. You'll see have people, you know, wear like, there's always that one guy that wears like fucking hype beast clothes or, stuff like that. Or there's that one guy that has like a Tesla. There's always gonna be rich kids at your school, bro. So they have stuff that, you don't. But the thing about that, I feel like you know, wanting money but not having it, because it's kind of hard to get money at a really young age, like like having money to go out at 14 or even 13. Like, you're always kind of, I feel like in that age, you're kind of asking your mom for money. And, for me, I wasn't in that position where, I wasn't making a lot of money, but I was making money where, if I wanted something, I could get it. Like, there was really nothing in Like I didn't get anything expensive where it cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but if it was like a cool shirt for like $60, I'm like, yeah, that won't, that won't kill my bank and I'll get it. Stuff like that. Because I've been working with my dad since I was 14. So I've always had a part-time job since I was 14, dude. I've been working since I was 14. Anyways, yeah, so I always had money, but there's been times where like, I would get no work that month and I'm fucking broke and my friends want to go out. And I just feel like, if you had more money, you would have more freedom. Cars, clothes, even moving out, like it kind of sucks because even now I'm really young. I do want to move out and it's super expensive. Like you would have to you would have to get like three roommates, bro. I would for me like for it to be livable, I would have to get like two roommates and like split the rent, three ways. Even that's expensive alone. But it's just kind of like, in your young years you'll always be stuck, financially. But another thing, friendships, like friendships change a lot. People switch up, you outgrow people, and some friendships just fade. And I feel like friendships was you'll truly know like who people are through high school. Like that's why I'd always recommend, to go in high school in person and, try to go to a public school, but if you're in private school, it's whatever. But high school will teach you like who is fucking fake as fuck and who's like real. And I learned who was fake and I learned who was real like kind of the hard way, like, feeling like getting betrayed and shit like that. Like I remember the first time when I realized like people fucking do anything behind your back was freshman year and like me and my girlfriend at the time we broke up and instantly one of my friends was trying to like hang out with her one on one, like trying to do some weird shit. And that's when I realized like, bro, like we just broke up and you're instantly trying to do this. Like, like after every breakup someone's vulnerable too. And like, it's just, it's weird. Like, it's weird to realize, you just have fake friends and there's people that like just don't give a fuck about you and they say that you're your friends. But there's some that you just genuinely outgrow. Like my my close my close friend when I was younger, his name was Nicholas, and he was my neighbor. This was like a while ago. This was like when I was 4. I was friends with him since 4 to like 11 or like 4 to 9 or something like that. So I was friends with him like years, and I would always go over to his house because he was legit like my next door neighbor. So like, when I was in his house, technically, I was, like, 20 feet away from my parents' house, and my parents were chill with those neighbors, so it was, like, pretty much like a family friend, like, like, my mom wasn't worried because it was, like, me going to my cousin's house, you know? And, one thing was, um, that friendship, we just grew apart simply because, he moved to Nevada and I stayed in Cali, and, we didn't have, socials that because he moved really young, and I didn't have a phone, so, we didn't have socials, and, there's been times where my parents go to Vegas a lot, but there's been times where I've went to Vegas and, I saw him. I think I only saw him one time when I went to Vegas, but, him, he's like, you know, I don't know anything about him, I haven't heard, but I bet you he's fully grown up. And another friend I had named Zachary. We just grew apart, even though he didn't live far from me and we always had each other on socials, we just, we grew apart, we didn't talk much, and he was a close friend. I think my mom considered his mom like a family friend. So like that's how close we were, and we just grew apart. And, nobody really tells you that, like, friendships aren't fully there. Like, I feel like that's what you discover. And what people don't tell you is that relationships don't last forever. I think sounds a little bit obvious, but not to the 14-year-old boy. Nobody told me that the first time I dated somebody. And it sucks. It honestly sucks. Get your heart broken, or even, breaking your heart, because, we did break up, and, we were both heartbroken. And, you know, like, this one was, that relationship hurt simply because, I kid you not, I was chasing this girl, like, for so long. I was like, I always had a crush on her since fifth grade. And that was crazy that, like, I was just chasing the same girl, like, year after year after year after year, all the way until freshman year. And, and then we broke up, and that thing hurt. Like, it hurt me so badly. Like, like, something that you chase for years. I don't, I sound weird, like, saying, like, it's an object, but, like, a relationship that you chase for years and you get it. And then, like, we both messed it up, and we're like, fuck. And then, it's one of those things where it'd be really, I think it'd be impossible for us to get back. I don't know, but, we don't even talk anymore. So, it's kind of like out of the out of the park or whatever. But, yeah, like, nobody tells you that relationships don't last forever, and nobody tells you how to deal with a breakup, when you're growing up. And nobody told me that. Like, I was heartbroken, and I feel like my parents just didn't understand. Like, my dad kind of got mad at me. He was just saying, like, don't you know that, like, relationships don't always last forever? And, um, it, it sucks to, like, hearing that. But I think, like, especially in your high school, and you truly cared about someone when you break up, that one, it will always be the worst, simply because, like, we knew each other our whole life. And, we've been friends since we were, like, even, like, maybe 11. And, we were, like, really close during quarantine. So, like, we were always talking to each other, every day during quarantine. And, we finally dated in freshman year, and we break up, and nobody tells you, like, it hurts, like, it sucks, like, it's one of the worst things. You have to see him you see him 5 days a week. And, you know, and then, you're dealing with that, and then instantly, you say a close friend, you someone that you thought was a close friend, someone you invited to your own house, someone that, you've been invited to their house, instantly tries to, get at her and stuff like that. And then, when he failed, like, he was just being weird, and then I had to step in. And it's such a weird, like, situation. But yeah, nobody told me, like, breakup was gonna be that bad. Like, nobody told me that, yeah, when you break up with her, like, you're gonna have to see her every day at school. I had a class with her too. Mm. And then, it's like, also you had to grow up with her during high school. And it's like, fuck, like, nobody told me that. So that's why I didn't want to date in high school, because I just feel like I could never, like, I can't go through that again. Like, I just couldn't go through, I can't break up with somebody and be madly in love with them, and then see them multiple days after school, like, see them multiple days. And, nobody told me that in in school. Like, nobody told me that. Nobody told me that growing up. And fuck, it sucks, but that's just how it is. And I think that's where I'm gonna end it here, guys. It's been recording for half an hour. I'm literally like dripping in sweat. It's freaking nasty. You know, you, I need this to blow up, bro. Like, if we, if I could get money, I could move out. Like, I could actually be in a cool environment, not recording in the heat. But thank you for listening. If you got this far into the video, if you have any comments about, teen years or any questions, comment down below. I would always answer. I'm always willing to comment. Um, but yeah, if you like this type of video, like and subscribe if you want to hear more. Stay blessed.